I think a creepy ghost may be playing games with me at work by trying to lure me onto the roof of the building. I'm a security guard at a 24-story apartment building, one of the oldest buildings in the city. One night, I'm sitting at the front desk when the phone rings at 3 a.m. The voice on the other end sounds female, but was totally garbled, and the only bit I could make out was 23rd floor. I tried to tell the person I couldn't understand them and asked what apartment they were in, but again I heard 23rd floor. After the third time of trying to understand them, I just said I would come up and meet them in the hallway. So I go to the main elevators, and both are up on the surprise 23rd floor. Luckily, we have an older service elevator. I get in and hit the button for the 23rd floor, but it won't move, and the inner door won't close. So I go to unlock the reset panel, and boom, we start going up. Door still open. I'm freaking out, and the elevator is shaking because it goes pretty fast and is pretty old. As I'm cruising up, I stay towards the back until I finally reach floor 23. I step out. The door closes just fine, and I look around the hallway, but there's no one there. So I walk along slowly, trying to listen for anyone awake who might have called, but there's nothing. I head the opposite direction and go towards the regular elevators, and when I get to them, they're just sitting there with the doors open. I was pretty freaked out, but I knew it could just be that the elevators were on the fritz, so I get in and figure I'll reset them when I get to the floor at the bottom. That's when I hear the sound of the back stairwell closing. So I quickly hop on and beeline to the stairwell. Not a soul in sight, but the maintenance door to the machine room is ajar. The thing is, I'm the only one in the building with a key. At the top of the building is a large room that houses loud machinery. I don't like going in there because it's super creepy, but somehow I muster up the courage and head in. I shout, "Hello." No response. It's dimly lit, so I can't see well. But at the end of the room, I can make out the roof access door, and sure as hell, it's slightly open. So I slowly continue forward, checking the space in between each machine as I walk by. I open the roof access door. Again, no one in sight. I felt like I really needed to make sure, so I propped open the door and stepped out. Almost immediately, the door slammed shut. Now, I might have written this off as the wind, but this door is hard to close and hard to open. Really hard. I immediately grab the handle and try to force it open, but it won't budge. I felt like someone on the other side was pulling it closed with all of their might. Finally, I managed to yank it open and then bolt through the machine room and out the door. I ran straight to the elevators, which were still open. I jump inside and go all the way down to the lobby. As soon as I sit behind the desk, the phone rings. I pick it up and hear the same garbled voice saying, 23rd floor. After I calmed my nerves with some red vines and Sprite, I got curious. So I rolled back the security tape. Not only was there no sign of me anywhere near the machine room, but according to the tape, I never moved from the desk. And the elevator doors on the 23rd floor stayed wide open the entire night. I never got in or out of them. So is this a ghost messing with me? Or am I slowly going insane from working too many late hours inside a creepy building?
Wow. I'll tell you that it's a couple of scenarios. When our circadian rhythms are not in sync, things can happen that may seem paranormal, but again, the working graveyard shifts is one of the most difficult things you can do to your body. And I mean, I'm not dismissing the experiences that he's had. It's very possible that he did indeed experience this, but you also do have to take into consideration, when you work the graveyard shift, your circadian rhythms are completely out of whack. And actually, there are studies about this where you can hallucinate and almost there's almost like these pseudo-psychotic episodes that you can have because of lack of sleep and being out of sync with your natural rhythms. With that said, don't want to completely discount the possibility that there may be something there. But my first take is that his circadian rhythms are a little bit out of whack.
That's definitely a good point, because there is a certain cycle of sleep that we are used to. And if we're doing something, whether it's working late at night or doing anything that is out of the ordinary from a normal sleep schedule, it definitely could cause our mind to play tricks on us. And actually, I would say that for me, if I don't get enough sleep, then that is a big issue for me. Like if I just don't get enough sleep and I'm pushing really far, I'm not saying I'm going to hallucinate per se, but I will say that I don't know. I probably perceive things very differently around me. I'm definitely going to be pretty grouchy, I would think. And yeah, so I mean, but would I actually see something, imagine a whole scenario? I mean, maybe if I was lucid dreaming, it's hard to know. But it's really a question of, is it more likely that a ghost is playing tricks on him, or is it a glitch in the matrix, which suggests that, we're all living inside a simulation of some kind, and that the simulators might be either messing with us at times or trying to fix a glitch, which would explain an incident like this? Or is it just, lack of sleep?
Hard to say.
Have you ever had any creepy ghost encounters?
I speak from experience. When I was younger, I was out of my circadian rhythm big time, did an all-nighter, and had some, let's say, paranormal experiences. So I'm going to leave it at that. And so that reminded me of, I think when you're younger, you kind of like push the boundaries, and I was pushing the boundaries in a lot of ways. You look back and you go, whoa, that just, it seemed really like a supernatural. And it's very, very possible that it was just my lack of sleep that put me in a state of, high hallucinatory vibes that, to this day, I can't fully explain, but I remember it very vividly, just speaking from my own anecdotal experience, that I could see something kind of like your wires are crossed, because, sleep is so important. It's one of the things that we devalue most in our, society, but it's regenerative. And if you're not into that right sleep cycle, man, some pretty funky things can happen. And that just, again, it's anecdotal, but and there are studies about this as well that, are kind of, otherworldly when it comes to, the things that can happen when you don't get enough sleep or you're out of your circadian rhythm.
I don't think he mentioned that he was tripping or anything, but hey, is it possible somebody spiked his coffee with something, or that Sprite or the Red Vines? You never know. I mean, I've not done that, but I mean, mushrooms or ayahuasca or acid, or what if somebody did that to him, then sure, it would make complete sense, right? One thing I actually thought was really interesting is, you're familiar with the holographic universe theory?
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's one thing that I think is kind of interesting about that. It basically, it says, I'll read some of this, that our three-dimensional universe, which includes height, width, and depth, may be an image or projection of information that is stored on a distant two-dimensional surface. Like similar to a security hologram on a credit card, which displays 3D depth from a flat surface, this theory suggests that all the data of our physical reality is encoded on a 2D boundary. And one possible piece of evidence for this is that they say no matter how small you break down like a piece of sand or a drop of water, it will continue to reflect the whole, meaning that a small piece of any matter contains data about the entire structure of that matter. It's kind of a fractal reality is what it says. I don't know, it's just fascinating,
Sacred geometry is all you look at the universe, and like you say, from a macro level to a micro level, it's mind-blowing. The alignment of design is just absolutely amazing if you really take time to look. The things that we take for granted are like, it just fills your heart with wonder. It really, really does.
And that's the real fascinating part about this whole life experience, is that there are so many mysteries that we may never solve, but the pursuit of some of that knowledge and trying to understand something deeper is kind of the fascinating part of the journey.
I mean, just being in nature and slowing down is so important. And, most people don't take enough time to do that during the course of their day, just to slow down and look at the fractals of a tree, for example. Touch a tree and, get in communion with nature is so important. Again, many people just never really value that. They're so caught up in trying to put food on the table and, fighting the traffic on the 405, etc. A lot of this goes back to everybody's vying for our attention. situation now. You have the choice, where you're going to put your attention. And when you do put your attention on something, guess what? Your energy flows in that direction. So make sure that you're paying attention to the right things.
Yeah, actually, on that note, I would say there's one Earth Day per calendar year, but maybe it should be once a week for
Yes.
everybody. We just need that moment to just, you know how much I love hiking in nature.
Yes.
Just getting out there, reconnecting. My wife and I love to do those waterfall hikes all across the country, just trying to string together as many hikes and many like paths that'll take us past waterfalls. And there's something rejuvenating about that. The ions, whatever it is, it's something really wonderful. And it's also picturesque.
Yeah, it's always interesting to me that you are attracted to water, and water is so healing. Of course, it's what we're composed of, and we're just like when we gravitate towards it, it's like going back home. So yeah, I find it interesting that when you do go on hikes, that's kind of your end game, which is great. It's like reaching the summit. Touching that water is so important. Just being around it, the negative ions, so healing. And I think your level of awareness when it comes to that is definitely high vibe.
Thank you. I I'm an Aquarius, which means I was born, in February. Not too familiar with the astrology meanings behind Aquarius, but I will say that it is the water bearer. It is an air sign, but it's the water bearer. There might be something there. I mean, I always loved water as a kid. I used to swim a lot. Nowadays, I don't do that as much, but like we said, hiking along rivers, hiking to waterfalls, it's really rejuvenating.
Yeah, and finding your flow, man. Literally finding the flow.
We're gonna go.